Okay, welcome back. This is part 2 of the shop update for 12/15/19. In part 1, I had discussed some issues that I had had with the weather and hauling and the lack of plowing and stuff like that. I had also discussed the traction control system in the Ram. I knew that it was there. I was kind of happy that it was there, but I didn't really understand it. What it is it's not a traction control like you would know on a truck where you lock the differential up and it provides traction to both sides of the axle. One of the things that makes semis better at traction is because they have dual axles in the back, or tandem axles with dual wheels on each side. Most semi trucks have both axles are under drive, so the engine transmission supplies the front axle through the drive shaft, and there's a secondary drive shaft that goes from the front axle back to the back axle. Now, not all semi-trucks are like that. Some of them have a dummy axle where it's just only one axle. The front axle is under drive, and the rear axle is just there to help support load. But on most trucks, the dual axles or tandem axles are both under drive. And what happens with that in that case is when you get into like snow and stuff, the front axle kind of breaks it up and the rear axle kind of gets traction in that broken up part of it. So that's their advantage. So I told you about the exhaust brake. What I had thought was there's a button on the dashboard, and I kind of thought that button was to turn the traction control on. What the traction control is it applies brakes. So I mistakenly was going up this hill trying to gain traction, got 3/4 of the way up it and started slipping. I flipped that thing on, and it was actually I'm sorry, I had turned that thing on and then I had turned it off, and what it does is when you hit that button, it turns it off. Under normal circumstances, you have traction control. So I was thinking that under normal circumstances, the traction control was off and you had to push a button to turn it on. What I did is I mistakenly left it on, and what it did is applied brakes to it where I was trying to keep momentum going up this hill, and at the same time it was braking me and slowing me down. So it was my fault on that situation, that the traction control, I should, under those circumstances of snow and on a hill and pulling a load, I should have left the traction control off because I wanted to keep momentum going. I didn't want the traction control to engage and apply brakes and slow my momentum down. But anyways, that was my fault. But let me just tell you a couple of other things about the truck. One of my hauls after I first got this truck was to pick up some racking down in Binghamton, New York, and I picked this racking up. It was used racking. I picked it up, and it was actually a tire place. And the guy came out and was looking at my truck and my trailer and stuff, and kind of admiring the trailer, and he says it was a great choice going with the 17.5s on the trailer. And the tires were good on the trailer, but he says that these tires that they put on the new Rams are junk. And he told me to watch out for these tires. Now, I have 30,000 miles on this truck, and it's not even 6 months old, but I've got 30,000 miles on it, and these tires are kind of fairly worn out. He didn't tell me about the issue with snow. He told me to watch out for them because they didn't last long, one. But secondly, that they were prone to failure. He says puncture failure, sidewall failure. He really doesn't like them, and they're I forgot the name of them. I can't read it right now. I don't have my glasses on, but anyways. Part of the issue could have been the tires, too. Again, they're fairly worn. They still got a fairly good amount of tread on it, but they are worn. So part of the issue with the traction could have been the tires. So I've got some tires ordered. They didn't have, the place where I buy tires didn't have any of them in stock that I wanted. I'm going to put Michelin on the back of the truck because that's what I had on my old truck, and I had fairly good luck with them in snow and ice. They're like a all-terrain or a mud and snow tire that I'm putting on there. But basically that's it. It was kind of my fault that I had that braking traction control system engaged when I thought it was disengaged. But anyways, live and learn, I guess. So that's it for that. Let me turn you off and bring you back to some other things that I've had going on. I'll give you a little shot of the trailer as I'm walking out to it. That cabinet looking thing on there is not a cabinet, it's a generator. It's an enclosed generator. Okay, hold on a minute. Before I show you what's on the trailer and to explain that to you, let me explain to you, I told you that I had come back from trying to make it to Fishkill, New York, and had come back. What my original intention is to go deliver those bollards in Fishkill, then go to Pennsylvania and pick up the generator set, Western Pennsylvania, and pick up the generator set that had to go to Philadelphia on Tuesday. So my plans really were getting screwed up. I was trying to make it back home Monday because I couldn't make it down to Fishkill because of the weather and the poor plowing by the state on their roads. But anyways, I got back to Buffalo, and the guy from Philadelphia had emailed me and told me to postpone the delivery to Philadelphia until Wednesday because he had heard about the poor weather conditions or poor traffic conditions in southern New York there above Philadelphia. So he wanted me to postpone it till I think this is where I had left off before on this toolbox, showing you the toolbox. But anyways, he told me to postpone it until Wednesday. So that worked out because I had that steel delivery that I talked about that had to go out to Dunkirk on anyway. So we scheduled that and did that on Tuesday. I took that out there and then went down to Pennsylvania and picked up that generator set that had to go to Philadelphia, and brought it back and then loaded the bollards back onto the the trailer that I had taken off. So I went down to Philadelphia, and I had shown all that to you. But I had, in that conversation that I had had about the weather conditions, I told you that I had to go to Erie. Well, it turned out that there was a couple of generator sets in Louisville, Kentucky, that this guy that I am running generator sets for needed to pick up, that he had bought at an auction. So I had gone through Erie, Pennsylvania, and ran into those weather conditions on my way to Louisville. Now, this was a quick trip because what I'm going to show you on the trailer is a gen set that I had to pick up from this guy after I delivered the Louisville generators to him. I had to put a generator set that I'm going to show you that's on the trailer on and take it to Upper Michigan. And that was kind of important. So I went down to Louisville and picked up these generator sets. And again, I'm going to show you a pick and pick over there of the generator set. Well, there was two of them that were identical. And even though they don't look big in the picture, both of these generator sets had 11-liter Cummins engines in them, so they were fairly big generator sets. No tank on them, so physically, this physical size of the generator sets weren't that big, but they were fairly heavy. They weighed over 8,000 pounds apiece. So I went down to Louisville, had to pick it up, and did that, came back, delivered it to him, ran into some poor weather conditions on the way back again once I got up around Erie, Pennsylvania. Ran into poor weather conditions again. It had been snowing again, but there was a lot much more traffic out, and there was lane openings in the road because of traffic, not so much because of plowing, but more because of the traffic through there. But anyways, I made it back to the guy later in the evening and delivered the generator sets, put the generator set on that I had to take to Michigan. So I put it on, and then what I did is ended up taking that to him this last Friday. So I will continue on and show you the rest of this video clip. And Brian, if you're thinking I went to Louisville and didn't stop in to see you or visit your shop, it's because I was in a hell of a rush. So sorry, buddy. The next time I get down there, hopefully I can come tour your shop. And although it looks big, it really isn't that heavy. It probably only weighs about 4,000 or 5,000 pounds. I've got it chained down. Behind it is a fuel tank for it. Usually those fuel tanks, I'm not sure how that hooks up to it. Usually the fuel tank is under it on a generator, but that logically, because of how narrow it is, can't go under it. Unless maybe it goes from side to side under it, but that wouldn't make any sense, and you would have to jack the other side up. I'm not really sure how it goes. But anyways, I've got to take this to Michigan, Upper Michigan, not the Upper Peninsula, but the Upper Michigan just before the Saginaw Bridge tomorrow. I picked it up last night. I had picked up 2 generators in Louisville, Kentucky, and had to bring them back to the guy that deals in these generators. And when I was down there, it was late at night. I was down there, and we loaded this one on so that I could take it up to Michigan for this guy. It's going to an amusement park. I think it's backup generator for some of the rides in the park. But anyways, I just kind of wanted to show it to you. Pretty big adventure. I think I'm gonna do a little sit down and talk about some things, the weather, but I'll bring you back. Okay, I've got the trailer out behind the shop, and as you can see, it's raining, but it's going to be turning to snow here shortly. We would be buried if this had been snow to begin with. But anyways, I just got back from a haul from Michigan yesterday, and I hadn't been able to clean the trailer up between the Kentucky haul and the Michigan haul. And the trailer was just absolutely covered in mud and salt and everything else. So it was mainly the salt that I was concerned about, but I brought it out here even though it was raining, and I hosed it all off. Tried to get all the salt and mud off of the thing. Well, it was loose from the rain. Just sprayed it off. I didn't power wash it. I didn't want to hook the power washer up. What I did is I brought the hoses out here and tried it with the hoses, and it seemed to work real good because it was wet to begin with. So I wanted to make sure I got all of the salt and mud off of it. And the dunnage rack, I don't want to go out there with the camera, it's going to get all wet, but I took all the dunnage out of it for two reasons. I wanted to clean that tray out of there, get all the salt and mud out of that tray, and I also, after the Michigan run, I'd screwed some retaining boards onto my dunnage so that that generator wouldn't move around during the trip, and I didn't take them off. I just threw the dunnage in there because it was in a really, I just wanted to get going, get out of there. So I just threw the dunnage into the rack, and then figured once I got back here I would straighten everything out, take out the little chocks that I had screwed onto the dunnage, and clean the trailer up. But I will explain it, the hauls, in a little sit-down discussion about that and some other things. So I'll bring you back. I'll bring you back after I go out in the pouring rain with a forklift and move my trailer back, because it's supposed to start snowing, and I don't want to leave the trailer up here once it starts snowing. It's easier to get it out from down below than it is to do it up here. That parking lot slopes there, and it's hard to get the truck backed in under it when it's slippery and icy. The truck has a tendency of sliding sideways, and it's kind of hard to line the gooseneck hitch up with the ball in the bed of the truck when the truck is sliding down sideways. But anyways, I'll bring you back. And I just came back in the shop after taking the forklift outside in the rain and snow and moving that trailer back. But I brought my truck back in. I'm not going to wash it. I'm just going to hose it off, even though it's raining, and I've been driving it around to run some errands, get some things. I still want to hose it off, get all that salt and stuff off of it underneath. It's been undercoated, but it's always good to spray it off and try and get as much of that salt off of the truck as possible, even though probably starting tonight they'll be resalting the roads, but at least I get the old stuff off. Okay, so that's pretty much what's been going on with me lately. I've been doing a lot of hauls, it seems like, this time of year, where I haven't in past years. And it's a good thing, but it's also kind of keeps me away from the shop, and I'm not getting other things that I wanted to get done. You know, projects that I've got going on, the haul truck, and some other things that I've got going on. I do have other hauls that I've got to make. I've got to make a trip to Long Island and pick up 3 generators down there. I've got to go to Minnesota for somebody else, not these generators that are in here. These generators in here still have to go back to Minnesota at some point in time. He wants to try and combine another load with them. But I have to go to Minnesota to pick up a fuel tank for a generator. And I'd like to do it on a backhaul after I take these things up there. But I've got to go to Minnesota, pick up that fuel tank, drop off these generators. I've also got to stop in Illinois and pick up another genset that's going to be used as parts. It's not an operating genset, but they want to use it as parts. So I've got that to come back. And then there's a couple of other small things. I've got steel runs to do. No racking in the wintertime because the guy wants an enclosed trailer in the wintertime for racking so that it doesn't get salt and dirt all over the racking. But there's some other things. Lance in Florida has a couple of planer vices that he wants me to pick up in Binghamton and just hold for him until he figures out how he's going to get them. But there's a bunch of things. But Christmas is coming up, and I'm going to try and stay around here as much as possible until Christmas or till after Christmas, you know, get some Christmas shopping done, spend some time with the family, stuff like that. But that's going to be it for this shop update. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you one other thing. I've never mentioned this before, but as you know, this truck has an exhaust brake on it, and I'm going to kind of show you something on it. When in the cold, when the exhaust brake is on, it will warm, the exhaust brake will come on, and it will help to warm the engine up. Anybody that has a diesel truck knows that it takes forever for the engine, a diesel engine, to warm up to begin with in the cold. So when you put the exhaust brake on in the cold, it makes it sound like a jet engine, because my truck has been deleted. It doesn't have the DPF or the muffler on it, but I'm going to show it to you. It's not on right now. Hopefully you can hear it, and here it goes. It's on now, and you'll hear it switch. Now that is annoying to some people. Other people love it, but it's annoying to some people. And when I shut it off, I'll leave the camera on here, shut it. And that's what happens when it shuts off. It goes back to the normal tone. But anyways, that's it for this shop update. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe, share it.